I only saw it as this was the only way out for me, because I knew the other way out of being on road, selling drugs, doing this, that, the other would make me end up in two places, either dead or in jail. So I had to literally carve my own way out of that, because that's the environments I grew up in anyway. So for me to fall into homelessness and be easily antagonized, for me to take that path, that option was always there, and I had to fight myself to not go on that path. So I only saw that camera as the option out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Conversations with myself, Francis Koh. Yet again, we have another exciting show ahead, which I'm very much looking forward to. My next guest is all about the social media side of things. He knows how to maneuver around it, how to get the best of what it is you're trying to do. When it comes to digital space, it's a fast growing industry, and a lot of us are just trying to move with whatever comes our way. However, my next guest, he knows how to navigate through this. He knows the shortcut. Not only did he learn from on the job, he actually went and studied the industry. Please allow me to welcome to the show, man like Armzy. I felt like throwing in the man like Armzy.
Broski, how are you, man? Thank you for having me here today, man.
Thank you for coming.
No, man.
Thank you for coming. You are, can I say, semi-veteran in the industry?
Yes and no.
Or can I say veteran?
You can, but I'm more of in the shadows of the industry. Like, I know I'm able to maneuver, let's just say.
They say all the important things happens in the shadows anyway. So you are on the right side of things. And a lot of people don't understand social media. In your opinion, doing what you do, what is social media to you?
Social media to me is social presence. So, or should I say more digital presence? Because it's one thing, like we're here in the flesh having a conversation, but I can see the lives of millions of other people in an instant. So it's more of a digital presence than it is a more real life presence.
So in terms of to get that digital presence, how often would you say we need to be on social media? Because for me, social media is a double-edged sword.
Yes, exactly.
Some people spend too long on it.
Yeah.
And some people don't spend enough on it and they wonder why they're not growing. What would you say is the right balance?
I think the balance of both online and offline, because online gives you more access to reaching X amount of people, the right demographic, the right target market you want. But you've got to do the footwork, like the groundwork in real life beforehand. So I would say, like, say for instance, if you're into cooking, and if you look at the amount of YouTube channels that are out there now that can provide different types of cuisines, different cultural foods that you can access. You couldn't access that from your next door neighbor or all of those type of things. So it's very important to kind of have that right balance between having a presence and not overindulging on social media and using it as a tool. I think that's the key thing, using social media as a tool than the embedment of your actual real life.
How do you use it as a tool? Because is it enough for me just to go on it for half an hour, post, comment, like, share? How do I do it?
It all starts with the content you're making. So, like, everything is easy now. Like, we've got all of these phones that have the capability as much as a camera that's filming us right now. So utilizing what you have around you is the most important thing. So we're in the age of documenting. So documenting what you're doing, the process, and not many of the audience see the process of an end product. So that's the most important thing, like showing progression or the progress of whatever you're creating. So showing the journey, basically. Like if you're a musician, like I know a lot of musicians and I consult with them a lot on how they can kind of expand to their audiences, that they always straight away focus on music videos, which is not the only aspect now. You can do behind the scenes videos now. You've got photography, you've got so many different aspects. You've also got TikTok now, so that can progress your content and progress your audience reach in an instant as well. And also don't forget the attention span of everyone on social media is getting much more shorter by the second. So you have to create content that is going to engage as quick as the scroll is, because if you're not going to get,
How do you do that?
it depends.
Because one thing a lot of people do, because I remember I started it when I started social media, it's actually a scary place. I don't know what to do. I remember my first post, wrote, delete, wrote, delete, wrote, delete. Oh, that should be there. Now I just don't care.
Yeah.
I just do it to the point where, not that I don't care, but I don't spend that much time to the point where I just want to, okay, yeah, I posted. So how does one make it as engaging as from the get-go?
It's just trial and error. There's no quick fix. There's no secret sauce like with any of that. It's just about trying something out, seeing how the world takes it, and adjust accordingly. So it's just always trying new things out. Like if you're wearing a black top, wear white. If you're wearing a white top, wear red. So just change things up, change up the elements, change up the content you're documenting, maybe the presence on how you're speaking, maybe the music you're using. There's so many different elements that create that one system for someone to kind of latch onto. So I think that's the most important thing. Always try to experiment. Always experiment with different things around you. Never try and be a one-trick pony.
Oh. Would you say it's important to have social media or not to have social media? Because some people say, I don't need social media. My business is doing good. What would you say?
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Like there's a lot of businesses out there. Like even recently, I forgot the name of this company, but it's a yacht company. They've never made a website, never have a social media, but they're still able to sell £100 million yacht.
You said a yacht company. That's a different clientele.
Yeah, that's a different clientele.
Yeah.
But it's still the same principle.
I guess
it's still the same principle. Like if your business doesn't need it, then don't work with it. If you feel like, because there's a lot of people that kind of blur the line between using it for their business and using it for their personal use. So having that understanding of the separation will make you more different into trying things in your brand, in your personal brand and as your business brand.
I strongly agree with that. I think because even sometimes I have to bring myself in. I'm like, no, Francis, it's not personal. You're here for a business. Stop scrolling. But it's addictive.
That's how they're built. They're literally built to take your attention from everything else you're doing. They're built for that system.
How can we stop that addiction? Or can it be stopped? Or are we fighting a battle that, forget it, we might as well just say, you know what, bring on the addiction?
No, do you know what? There's a lot of people defying that matrix now, in the sense of literally like stopping that urge to put their phone away. Like I've started this for the past year. Like when you wake up, don't access your phone for the first hour you're awake, and put your phone away the hour before you sleep. I think those kind of ways of dealing with it will slowly make you melt away from always grabbing your phone, seeing, like, even if you're on your break, lunchtime, and all that, like scrolling on your phone. Instead of that, just read an ebook. Instead of that, like, watch a video. There's so many different ways, but like it's if I tell you something, don't do it, you're gonna do it. So it's kind of creating that system for yourself to be like, okay, I need to minimize doing that.
And we go into without realizing, because I'll tell you what happens to me sometimes. I will go in my Instagram app, do what I'm doing in Instagram. As soon as I come off, I go back in again. I'm like,
without you even knowing. Sometimes, like, you'll be like, oh, I've got to send a message to someone. By the time you send a message to someone, by the time you've done that, you're already scrolling 3-4 videos on there, and then you realize, whoa, how did I get there? You've been built in a way that is so like, you've been engaged by so much stuff on there that is taking your attention. So by the time you finish something on there, you've already converted it into something else.
It's crazy.
It's a mad world we're living in.
Who is Armzy? What do you do? Which part of social media? Because people will be like, what does this guy do? So you're heavily involved in the music side, the content creation. How would you define what you do to people who don't know?
Sometimes I have a problem with myself with that, because sometimes like when I speak to someone, it's like, who am I? But it's like, because I do so many different type of things, like not a jack of all trades, but I love the pre-production, the post-production, the consulting with people, like sitting and figuring stuff out, strategy. I've always loved them things, so I've never really been like, if it was a specific job title, I would never know what it is, because I love, like, one minute I could be speaking to you on a podcast, next minute I can be upstairs making music with someone. So it's always
If you was to choose one love, just one.
if I was to choose one love, I wouldn't do it.
Really?
That's how much I've got love for everything else.
Fair enough, fair. So you create beats,
Yeah,
you edit,
yeah,
you film,
yeah,
you direct,
yeah,
you're the gaffer as well sometimes, the sound guy,
yeah.
do the pre-production.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Sales, marketing. There's so many different levels to it. Like like I was telling you off camera as well. Like, we're in an age now where these bigger industry systems are much more on an independent basis now. So you can create these forms of systems for yourself and go through the production of everything, but it's dependent on how much you take on. Me, before, I would overwhelm myself, do it pleasing people by creating things for them and then minimizing on what I'm doing for myself. So now I've got to a point where I'm balancing the kind of realm of sorting things for myself and sorting things for clients.
That's amazing. How and why, what made you go into the industry?
I mean, I kind of stumbled in it without realizing. First of all, like I grew up with a lot of musicians and producers from when I was young. Anyway, I grew up in like Harlesden. It's always a musically inclined and cultural area, so I was always around different type of musicians. And then around 2011, 2012, I became homeless, and then at the time I was very curious about photography at the time. So my entry point was photography, because I was always at music videos and studio sessions and all of that. One of my good friends who had a YouTube channel at the time, he was having a child on the way, and then he wanted to kind of like halt what he was doing, and then he was trying to sell his camera, but then he knew that I wanted to get into the industry. So then he just gave me his camera, and then it was around the first week that I was homeless. So then it made me not focus on my homelessness at the time, and made me think of like, it just gave me something to work on whilst I was working on myself. And then there was times like where, because I was around a lot of musicians and a lot of things, I'd be going to their shows, and then I'd be sneaking in, because obviously there's certain venues you couldn't bring your camera or all these things. So I was literally like learning on the job, like learning how to use the camera, the ISO, and all of these type of functionalities on the camera, and documenting. So yeah, it was an interesting journey.
Take us through that point where you were homeless, because that's very interesting. Where I've never been homeless, but I can only imagine when you're homeless, it feels like your whole world is crashing. You feel no one loves me. You must not all. That's me guessing.
Yeah.
You're feeling I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Why me? Whatever's going. So in the midst of all of that, you still find the strength and courage to pursue something that you love. How? I ask that because there's a lot of people going through hardship and they can't focus on something that's going to get them out of that hardship down the line. How did you manage to do that?
I only saw it as this was the only way out for me, because I knew the other way out of being on road, selling drugs, doing this, that, the other, would make me end up in two places, either dead or in jail. So I had to literally carve my own way out of that, because that's the environments I grew up in anyway. So for me to fall into homelessness and be easily antagonized, for me to take that path, that option was always there, and I had to fight myself to not go on that path. So I only saw that camera as the option out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because that's strength.
Thank you.
Power, and well done to you, and look where you are now. So we could say you believed in yourself, you never gave up, chased what you wanted to do, and you said, you know what, I'm gonna take control of my situation, not the situation to control me. Because a lot of people, we don't realize, you know, we all suffer from this, is we find ourselves in a position today, and we don't realize that this is a consequence of what we did
5 years ago, all of that,
like
100%.
literally. So for you to be in a dark place and have the foresight to say, you know what, this is my only way out, which a lot of people, I can almost understand why a lot of people struggle, because once you're going through a turmoil, you stuck in that moment.
Of course.
You know, you just want out today. You don't have time to think 6 years from now. You want out today. But again, it's about stepping aside and really realizing that today is due to what you did 5 years ago, 6 years ago, however. So 6 years from now, where do I want to be? Let me start now. So that's very powerful that you shared that and taking us through that, because there's a lot of kids out there, even adults for that matter, who just don't see a way out.
Yeah, and I've dealt with that firsthand. Like, I've spoken to a lot of people that have been homeless, and certain homeless charities and organizations that help get people off the streets and like to a midway point so they can be dependent for themselves. And I was a part of those programs. And if I wasn't a part of that program, God knows where I would have been, even with the camera. So it's those type of charities and organizations that like are so important to the development of people that do suffer hardship.
Wow. So you are your own CEO right now. You're your own boss. So we can safely say how you went from homelessness to being a boss was with a camera.
Yeah. It's thank you, thank you, man.
No, that's powerful. I mean, put what we're talking aside as a human. You took on life. Not many people can take on life and come on the other side and still share their stories. So well done.
Thank you, man. And speaking to you is the only, like, I rarely kind of put this out in the public eye, but I do speak to a lot of people behind camera about such things like this. So I hope people that do come across this can take something from it and take that like everyone is fighting a dark battle you'll never know about, you know. And there's so much that it's either one of two ways. Either you can take it as a lesson or you can let it beat you. My thing was, it would never let it beat me, but only because maybe because it was my upbringing. Like I came from a very like religious household. Like my father's side was like more military and engineers and all of these things. So I always had that form of trait in me. So, and then my mum's side were much more religious, like farmers, camel herders, and all of that, like back home in East Africa. So all of that, I feel like, gave me the understanding that if I ever was in a situation, only thinking about this in hindsight, that it would help me find the best skills within myself to pursue what I wanted. And at that time, I only saw it as the only option. Like I said, the environments I grew up in, there was only one way of trying to get money or trying to like sustain a life. And I knew what the repercussions and the outcomes of that. I've had so many friends since I was young that were passing away left, right, and center. So those things definitely embedded into me.
And not only that, you knew who you were and you stayed true to yourself. You said, no, I'm not taking that route. Because you've got a lot of people, due to peer pressure, not knowing who they are, or knowing they're not that, but they still go that route.
Of course. Because it's the easy option. That's the thing. If someone presents to you the easiest option, especially in the circumstances you're in, you're going to take it. And that's how the industry is as well. Like the music industry, the filming industry, the bigger corporates dangle these sums of money to people from unprivileged backgrounds that are very talented, and then they take their intellectual property rights, their content right, their creativity rights, and literally feed off the culture. Like if you look at the systems from the last 100 years, like all of the systems are built to be fed from the culture. There's never been one way of trying to, I don't know how to put it. It's like it's like the manufacturing thing you're saying. These corporates and these labels are always focused on what's the next new thing. All of the next new things are always birthed from the underground. where do all of these talents get picked from the underground? They're not born mainstream, they become mainstream.
I like that. They're not born mainstream, they become mainstream. Do you think there's a way we can change that?
I think
the
it's already
underground?
changing. I think it's already changing without us, without us realizing right now, if that makes sense. Like, where it's only in like the last 5-10 years that where there's been much more independence. There's been lots of stories of artists buying out their contracts because they want to sustain their own career. There's creatives like yourself taking on the aspect of the production to make sure, like, I want this done to the way I want it to be done, compared to you selling off your idea to like Sony or whoever, which will boil it down and water it down to something else. So the power right now is in independency, and especially with the development of going into like the way the world is going with the internet, with social media and access to your audience, the middleman has been cut now. So
Yeah.
you can create a product or a service and you can put it out there to the world now, where before you'd have to go through so much of a system for you to get your things out there. That has all been cut out.
Oh man, that's a lot of people don't understand that, and they're still chasing. As we were speaking off camera, they're still chasing the BBC, Channel 4s. Start from the ground up. Start in your own bedroom on your phone. If you
Literally
have to.
that. Literally that.
Keep the content. You are in the industry. You're working in the shadows. Tell us when you went to study. Tell us what you were told on the first day, because
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
The fact that they can say it as well.
Yeah. And for me, like, I didn't know how to take it. So basically, the course that I was on was very heavy focused on music. And I remember the first lecture they had was, like, literally the whole industry is white. If you have an issue with that, please leave the room. And I'll never forget, like, there was only like there was so many like black and ethnics in that course. No one left. And it wasn't out of fear or out of anything like that. I think it was because of the sheer honesty. And out of that, like, we just fell in love with our tutor, and then they just showed us the ropes of how it is in the industry from the behind the curtain. And they just told us everything that is so genuine. Like, they made us understand like who and what gatekeepers are. Like your network is your net worth. Like, that is something that is always so cliche, and cliches are just truths that are overused. So that like really resonated with me, like having that understanding, and it just made me understand that whatever your skill set is, there's a bigger picture to it, and we're all a part of a system that is always forever evolving, but still has fundamentals to the old ways.
Your network is your net worth.
It's such a cliche, isn't it? But it's so true.
But people don't know that.
Yeah.
And we can boil it down. They say, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are.
Exactly that.
You know, and talking about that, building your network on social media, let's talk about intellectual property. How important is it for creators, content creators, to make sure they own that intellectual property?
It is such a vital piece now, and intellectual property is such an overlooked gem.
Do you know what? Sorry. See, we speaking. Yeah. Sometimes I forget we know what we know, but not everyone knows.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what's intellectual property? Please.
Do you know what? I don't want to get grilled. The actual terminology.
No, you don't have to give us the terminology.
But it's basically ownership of anything you produce.
Yep.
Yeah.
Digitally.
Digitally, yes.
Digitally. So like, even your text message, that's your intellectual property. A script, any vlog you do.
Music.
Anything.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the question, how important is it to own that?
It's, especially in this day and age, even for like the last 100 years, like it's so important. Like, and that's why if you look at like the perfect example, the music industry, the way the music industry is focused on ownership of intellectual property. And like I said, like they will come to an artist who's from a deprived area, dangle money in front of them for the catalog they've created, the intellectual property they've created, and now they owe that label money for something that is they've already made. And then when they do pay that back, they only get a small percentage back from something they've already created.
And the label will make that money for years to come.
For years, even beyond your death.
For years. But I guess can you forgive and understand why people would take that?
I 100% agree. I fully would understand. Like, I come from those areas. I've been dangled with such things like that in front of me. But for me, it was like, I would rather take the longer route around and own my stuff than rather be paid outright and not own anything that I create.
What if we say, okay, let me take this deal, I'm gonna give you a 2-year deal, or musically a 2-album deal, 2-song deal, one, they'll put me on the map, and after that I go independently. Would that a route you would suggest, or are you saying
it really depends on the negotiation of the contract. Obviously, this is something I always kind of speak to my friends who are much more musically inclined to such manners like this, but it's always a thing of always negotiating things, always take that to a lawyer. Like the first thing you should do wherever you're in the content space or in the music space is have a lawyer around you. They will give you much more of an understanding on how intellectual property works, how negotiations and contract works. There's also like clauses. Clauses are so important in contracts.
And they're always in there hiding somewhere.
No one never reads that. Like if someone is always rushing you to sign a contract, then it's a bad contract. Like you should never be rushed to read through even if it's 600 pages, read those whole 600 pages. It might be long and take you a month, but at least you'll know the ins and outs of what you're being given and what is being taken.
Read and understand.
And analyze it. Read, analyze, understand.
Well, so we got someone out there, heard you say your network is your net worth. They want to build that network now. What steps do you think they should take in order to build up a social media presence?
I think it depends on which way you're trying to go. If you're trying to build a presence, there's a couple of ways. There's digital products that you can create, a physical product that you can sell, or the catalog that you're making as a musician or an artist. So there's a couple of ways you can go. The easiest way is just looking in your phone book or your social media page and whoever you're following or whoever's following you, and just reaching out to people, connecting with people. Hey, how you doing? If you're the best way I can come in with an example is as a cameraman. So when I was first starting out as a cameraman, I was going to every single person around me who's a musician, who's an artist, who's doing podcasts, who's doing short films, every single person around me, and just asking them if they ever needed an extra camera on set. If I can at least, even if I'm not allowed my camera on set, if I can be behind the scenes and just soak up, even if they needed a runner, someone to get coffee for. You've got to put yourself out there. Like, it's not about scrolling and messaging with people. You got to use this and this. They're very important to use. And the thing in between your head as well. That's the thing. Like, but yeah, like I think the first point for anyone that's whether they're doing music, content, films, anything like that, is just reach out to your people. Like, just don't be scared to experiment with how you talk to people as well. Like, just be as true and genuine to yourself. But your approach should always be different, just to see what works and what doesn't work.
Oh. What worked for you?
What worked for me was being an asset. So having something to bring to the table. At first, I came in saying, "Oh, like I'm very curious to know this," but then on the approach, it was like you don't have anything to offer apart from raw energy and curiosity, which is not a bad thing.
It's a starting point.
It's a starting point, you know. But for me, it was like, okay, I know how to use a camera. You get what I'm saying? Like, I know how to edit. And these times, at the time, I was too big for my boots, because it was like, okay, cool. I know how to take a picture. Yeah, I'm sick. But in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to go through this video and try and figure something out. But I still put myself out there. And you should never be disheartened to just like try it. And just like put yourself out there. Like, a lot of people think, okay, 1 or 2 times it doesn't work, it's not for me. I tried things 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 times, and then it started working. So it's just that's just me. And there might be some people thinking, I'm kind of like that. Just try it. Just try these things. Experiment.
That's true, because Edison, when he created the light bulb, he failed something like over 1,000 times.
1,050 something times, 52 times or 34 times.
Crazy.
And and he said he found 1,000 ways on not how to do it.
So he never failed. And I think that's what's wrong as well in today's world, which again you see on social media. Because if I go on your page, I see you got this, that. I want this and that. No, it took years. Slow down, take your time. Your path is coming, and plus you could start off here. You're gonna end up somewhere even better, somewhere you didn't even think of. So just keep going, doing what you're doing, as an individual, and it will come to you.
And the goal's always changing. So you can say, I want to get an office in a year. By the time that year has come, you might have saved up more money to do something else and might have invested in something better. So you're as long as you're flexible with your goals and you're capable on completing your tasks, your end goal is always forever going to change.
100%. You achieving what you've achieved so far, which is a lot, and you do a lot behind the scenes. You see people, you talk to people, you manage people, you advise people, you consult people. Any regrets?
Nah, I wish I did it sooner. That's the thing. I wish, all of the questions I was very skeptical on asking, or the hesitations that I had wanting to try things, I wish I did early and just to try. Because there's a lot of things that I tried late and I found the way to, okay, this wasn't for me. But it was that time, that buffering time between, that I wish I made shorter. Because I know it would have propelled me much more further. But God has written it the way I needed to.
You know what you just did there? You just used the word buffering. People be like, what's that? Basically, ladies and gentlemen, buffering.
You're buffering, like, you're static, like, you're moving.
It's a terminology mostly used for editing and creators or uploading. So some people are like, buffering? What's buffering? He's just saying he took his time, which you regret a lot. It's a daunting thing, you know, pursuing what you want, what you truly believe. It's a daunting thing, because a lot of people, a lot of ifs and maybes and buts then enter, literally consume them. What if I fail? I don't know anyone. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. But I don't have time. I've got such and such friends. You know what I mean? And they're always, I'm waiting. I'm going tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. And they're still buffering. Chase after your dreams. Remember, you said it. Use this, and what's between your eyes as well. Because a lot of people don't think. They just jump in. There's nothing wrong with jumping in. But once you jump in, you just have to say to yourself, I'm not stopping. I'm going. It takes time, consistency.
If it's not today, it's tomorrow. That's the thing. If it's not tomorrow, it's next month. If it's not next month, it's 2 years. And that's the thing, is to keep going. Like, it's so cliche to even say that, to keep going. But it's just figuring out ways not to do it. It works.
Yeah.
It literally works. But it's just about how, like, people are, with a 9 to 5, you're guaranteed, as long as I do these tasks, I'm going to get my £2,000, £1,000 at the end of the month. But when you're working on your own things, like you said, it's what if, because of this, I don't know this person. Those uncertainties is what disheartens people to go and chase what they want to chase. Yeah. That's the thing. And no one's really taught or encouraged to go and do your things. Everyone's always bombarded with taking the safer options.
Yeah, that's true, you know. We thank you for doing what you do. So there's a young kid out there who's scared, doesn't know what he or she's doing in order to become the best version of them using social media, because I believe social media is not going anywhere. I mean, we might not have Instagram in 10 years.
We're going into the metaverse, let alone social media, bro.
That's still part of...
Yeah.
It's just going to evolve.
Yes.
What advice would you give them to just get up and do what they need to do and grow their social media presence?
Like I was saying, use it as a tool. Like, there's not a right way of doing it, but the one key thing that everyone understands with social media is consistency. So whether it's through your the posts you're uploading, let's say take Instagram. Instagram's got different variations on how you can upload content. You can upload a story. You can upload a post, a feed post. You can upload a reel now. The reel they brought in recently because they're trying to compete with TikTok, because TikTok, everyone's on there now. Like TikTok has made careers. So it's just finding, okay, if like let's say the example of this kid that wants to try things, if he's into gaming, like go into the gaming communities, like there's discords, like engage with people on there, like look at the content that is already out there as well, and see what people are not doing. That's the best way to get ahead of the herd as well. If everyone's doing if there's like 100 people that are doing the same type of videos, don't be the 101. Be the 101 that is doing something completely different, even if it's on the same topic. So those are the things. Find out things that is already being done. Either make it better or make it different.
Make it better or make it different. But whatever you decide to do, ladies and gentlemen, keep going. Keep going. No, that is powerful. Any other projects you're working on that you believe the world should be aware of?
I mean, there's a couple I've signed NDAs for, so I can't really say anything. But I'm at that level now. But yeah, there's there's a couple short films I'm working on. That's like my new venture now, because I feel like God has closed that door on me many times because I wasn't ready for it. So now it's just a thing, like I'm slowly tapping into like short films, more longer form content. There's a couple documentaries that I've written that I haven't shot yet. So I think that's going to be a very interesting thing, as I'm trying to be more in front of the camera now than behind. So that's what I feel like now I've kind of unlocked a level in myself where I can be more in front of camera, rather than being also behind the camera as well. So yeah, like I've got a few interesting ventures, but yeah, like I just love to kind of communicate with like other creatives and figure out where they're going in life and try and help them with any forms of resource or network connections or anything, that stuff that I wish I had at the time as well. That's another thing, because I came from a time where media was transitioning in the change of guards for more of the older crowd to like more of the younger crowd now. So I was just about in between those phases, and I realized how much more of the older people were more tight-knit with their network and their resources, and they were more like kind of tunnel vision in their own lanes, which is not a bad thing. But at the same time, it's bad for development, and especially for aspiring people. Yeah. And I always realized that in that, and where I was very eager to learn certain trades of media, I realized how much of the door was shut on me. So now I kind of give that back. Now that's why I do a lot of talks in schools and unis and colleges and stuff, kind of just to kind of give my life experience, exactly how we're speaking today, on how I maneuvered myself through content.
That's amazing, which a lot of people don't actually realize. Giving back is just as important, if not more important, than receiving. Because as you said, if we all hold on to the knowledge, the up and coming generation won't develop. And it's going to affect us, because the time has to come where we step aside. And because we spent so much time and energy in the industry, we want to see it thrive. So we can't just hold, share. And the more we share, the more we give knowledge, the more we help others, just the faster and better it will grow. And as humans, we'll just feel better. Like, well, what's better than sharing? Like,
no, that's true.
You know,
I'd rather share my wins with everyone around me than hold the win by myself.
Exactly, because it's not fun.
It's not fun. It's literally not fun.
I mean, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I can imagine it's not fun being the only millionaire.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, yo, you want to go do something? No, I got work tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? I want my peoples to come with me, you know. But that's just my thoughts. So all you people of knowledge, please do share, give back, because the more you share as well, you could share to someone who surpass your knowledge, and they'll give it back to you.
Yeah, it's always reciprocated. Always. Like you give one, you get back two.
Yeah, each one teach one. Simple as that. Mr. Armzy, thank you, brother. Thank you. It's been amazing. So what we normally do here, which you should know already, is you close the show. Close it anyhow you want. any more advice? I don't know. You want to sing?
Do you want me to directly in camera? Okay.
Close the show how you want to close it.
I want to close it by making you understand that you're more powerful than you could ever imagine, and you just need the right scenario for that to come out. And I have nothing else to say rather than I hope I come across you and we can have a conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. If a guy can literally go from homeless and picking up a camera, and keep in mind, back then the cameras were not as sophisticated as they are now. So in today's world, you don't even need a camera. All you need is your phone. If he can do that from homelessness to becoming the boss of his own company, to the point where he's signing NDAs, imagine what you could do with the shared knowledge that's out there. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to take anything away from the show, your network is your net worth. Till next time, love, peace, and happiness. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Mr. Armzy.
Yeah.
Yo.
Hey, bro. Thank you for that, man.